Good afternoon again. We're dealing with a chilly, sunny day here in the Love State. We're coming to you again this afternoon. This is Seth Moore coming to you on Anchor by Spotify. Remember that we're hosting on other different sites such as Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Patreon, Apple Music, where you can visit us twice a week. Make sure that you tune in and continue to listen to world news that we're bringing you on a weekly basis to inform you of what is going on around the world. And remember, we're always using uncopyrighted music to bring you the latest events and updates of our world news. Again, this is Seth Moore coming to you again today, this Sunday afternoon, to bring you increasing critical topics that we want you to hear. So stay with us, and we'll be with you in a moment. And we're back. Again, this is Seth Moore coming to you today on Anchor by Spotify. Today, what we're going to be talking about, we have some increasingly alarming news, and we want you to pay close attention to what's actually going on so you can actually make up your mind for yourself. Some would say that this is a conspiracy theorist documentary, but I want you to pay attention because we're living in a time where the scripture says that many will be deceived. The whole world will be deceived. And if it was not for the Creator, he said the very elect will be fooled. They will be tricked. So if you are the elect, you won't be fooled. But if you're not, and only you know that, see, because if you're doing what's required, you have nothing to worry about. I was talking to a friend on last night before we get started. I got a call, and I won't mention names, but she was beginning to tell me, and we began to talk. And, we begin to talk about how many people around us that are just, we're losing. There are people just leaving the planet every day, every hour, every moment of the day. And how that we have to do our due diligence as it relates to loving one another, being supportive of one another, being uplifting, being exalting, being comforting, just loving our brothers and our sisters. And how that there's so many people that are leaving the planet. And we talked about this. And I had said to her, I said, look, the trick of the enemy is to make you believe that dying or death is a bad thing. And I said, that's the way it's been given to us. I said, but if we go back in our culture and the way that Akibalon, which is really the proper name for what they call Africa. Africa was named by the Europeans. Okay, but the proper name is Ethiopia, Sudan, Kush, Akibalon. These are the proper names for the continent. We, our ancestors, did not believe in the way, or they did not hold the traditions of the West, of the European nations. They looked at transitioning as a morbid, death-defying end, because for most of those people, that's what it is. But we have, and our ancestors have brought into the world a higher spiritual way of living, a higher spiritual way of transitioning to the next realm. So we knew and we understood, our ancestors understood that death was a transitioning state, that it was your soul and your spirit and your energy just transmuting, or just being able to traverse to another plane of existing. So they did not look at it that way. And it's been enforced upon us that this transition is a bad thing. And so what I begin to say to her is that it's what we do here now, how we are preparing ourselves here, how we live here, how we love our brothers and our sisters, how we treat people. This here is the dressing room, so to speak. Everything you do here matters in your transitioning to the next plane. So unfortunately, a lot of people will have to do a redo. You understand what I mean? So if you don't get it right here, and when you go to the next dimension, that dimension that you're on is not going to be the dimension of bliss and serenity. It'll be a dimension where you have to redo what you didn't do here. It's the same with in the Pantheon, or the in Kemetic theology, where you do Mayat. And so if your heart, they weigh your heart against the feather. And if your heart doesn't balance with the feather, then it says that as you proceed to go through, then you are devoured by the beast. So it's in your heart. It's your heart that's being weighed. It's your heart that's being examined, because everything is happening in the heart. It's happening in the heart. It's happening in subconsciousness. It is happening in your mental. Okay? And I was saying this before. So, and this is why often the Creator is saying, only a pure heart shall be able to see me. So you have people with toxic hearts, and yet they think they're going to meet a blissful end. That's not even, you know, I mean, come on. Elementary, that's a child could decipher that. So what I am saying is this, is that we have to begin to look at, and for us that need to do redos, or to pause, or to hit the rewind button and begin to do some things over, that's what we need to start doing. Because if you are planning, if it is your destiny in your heart to want to be with the celestial bodies of the universe once you leave here, because all of us are going to leave here, okay? All of us are going to leave here, with the exception if the Creator says, well, maybe you won't see it, and maybe he'll just snatch you up. But from my research and understanding, we're all going to leave here. But the transition is really what you're looking forward to. What type of transition will you have? Yes, what type of transition will you actually have? What will be your transition? Will it be a blissful one, or will you struggle because you know that you haven't done right, because your heart is not right? Will you struggle in that transition? A lot of people are scared to death. They are. They really are. A lot of people, just like I just said, they are scared to death because they're scared of death because it's been made to be this very morbid, panacea final episode in existing, which is not. You never die. You live forever. But how are you going to live? That's the question. How are you going to live? What is going to be your transition? What is going to be your transition? So we talked about this for a while. And then, of course, we, said, I will talk to you later. We'll see you later, what have you. And so this is very important. See, because there have been so much emphasis with so many people. See, this is the trick of the enemy. There's been so much emphasis on things that don't matter. You understand what I'm saying? And now you got people sitting back as you get older. As you get older, and then now you're saying now that you're up in age, you begin to take inventory and you begin to think about, man, what did I do? Why did I treat people like that? Why was I like this? Why was I like that? So now you're struggling mentally, you're struggling emotionally, you're struggling spiritually in your spirit, because now you have to hit the rewind button. You say, okay, I can't redo a lot of things that I've done, but from this point, I can make it better. That's what you have to do. From this point, I can make it better because I can't redo what has already been done. I can't unhurt the people that I've hurt. I can't lift up the people that I stomped on. I can't, entreat the people that I may feel like they was nothing. You understand? You understand what I'm saying? So now you're in limbo about your transitioning because you're in question about, am I really that entity that the Creator wants to accept? Because you can't fool the universe. You're only fooling yourself. But the thing is this, what I would say is what you ever haven't done, or what you haven't done, begin to redo, begin to make amends, because there are things where they say you can start adding to your, to your ascension. But it doesn't mean that all is forgiven, because whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. So, and it's like a man or a woman who spent all this time in their life avoiding relationships or avoiding this, avoiding that. And then when you get older, the very things that you've avoided, now you want something very good. But now you're at a point where you're not in demand because you're older now. And particularly a lot of women. You're older now. So you don't have, and this is not to put anyone down, you don't have the pickings. See, but for me, what I would say, because one of the things that I'm so glad for is that I'm not beholden to anything physical. See, and a lot of people are still beholden to physical things, to tangible things. And see, when when space begins to move really fast, because I really don't want to use that word time, because we look at the word time as in being Okay, at this particular date or this particular date. And that's not the way the Creator looks at it. But what I'm saying is that a lot of space has been expended and spent where we've done things, and now we look around and we say, wow, I use all this space to do this. No, I have very little space now to maneuver for some of the things that I would like to have, and I'm not talking about material things. I'm not talking about material things. See, because let me say this too. What I do, I don't do for money. I understand, and I understand, trust me, that money is a tool. And in this life, you need it to do the things you need. Let me make that clear. I understand that. It's about managing, being a good steward. I understand that. But what I'm saying is that there's been so much emphasis put on things for a lot of people that we've corrupted friendships, relationships, families, marriages, and so many things because of these tangible things in this life. And then when you look back later on, you say, was it really worth it? Was it really worth the relationship that I dissolved? Was it really worth it? Was it really worth it? And now you're all alone. You may not be all alone. You may have family, but at the same time, you may be all alone by yourself. You know what I mean? Because you have a desire to want to be loved, to love, and to be with somebody that loves you and that cherishes you as a human being, and only you. They cherish you, only you, because you're the better part of them. But when you squander that, then you have to deal with the consequences. See, and a lot of us have given ourselves to a lot of people. And then when it's all said and done, you're no good for no one. And, you still have people who are still running around in their older age, still living vicariously. If you are in your 50s and 60s or whatever, and 40s, late 40s, and you still are running around sleeping with this one and sleeping with that one, you really need to, you understand what I'm saying? Because what happens if you're still doing that and then sky cracks? You're done. You're done. And I don't have no shame in, because I turn a lot of, trust me, I get so many advances from women. I don't say that to brag, but I'm like, nah, no thanks, but no thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. Because I understand the seriousness of what I'm involved in. I understand women better now than I ever have. I know that when you exchange body fluids, there's a bond that's created. You understand? There's more created than you can imagine. Soul ties, and people are running around these days being with this woman, being with this man, being with this woman. I won't even tell you how long it's been since I had a woman. And not that I can't have. I choose not to. I'm not going to put myself in a position to jeopardize my connection with the Creator and with the universe and being on a high vibrational frequency. I'm not going to lower my vibrational frequency for some physical pleasure. So there's been to create a level of discipline that you have to have. You can't talk spiritual and be doing all kind of dastardly. You can't. You can't be trying to be spiritual and then you're sleeping with this woman, sleeping with this woman, sleeping with this man, and sleeping with that man. And you got people who are still doing those kind of things, but yet they want to tell you how to be spiritual. And yet they're exchanging body fluids all over the place. So, we're going to get into our story and today, and we're going to be talking about something very serious. This is called Project Bluebeam. This is very, very powerful. I want you to pay attention because this is so serious. This is so serious. And this is really about what is going to take place. And of course, you can decipher it and you can figure out for yourself if it's real or if it's not real. Because certainly there are powers within this universe right now who are planning to bring the world under a one world order control where they get away from and get rid of religion and all of this. So I want to give you some information. I want to read this to you. And I want you to pay close attention. I want you to pay close attention. As far as conspiracy theories go, Serge Monet's Project Bluebeam is out there, way out there. In 1994, Serge Monet, a writer and investigative journalist from Quebec, published an alleged manifesto of sorts explaining this wild theory that has remained infamous in certain circles to this day. This is Project Bluebeam. According to Serge, the four-step project designed by NASA and the United Nations would allow these organizations to accomplish what he believed to be their ultimate goal of creating a new age religion led by the Antichrist. Listen to me now. This new age religion led by the Antichrist order in order to start a new world order dictatorship. NASA would implement Project Bluebeam, Monet believed, with a system of advanced mind control as well as top secret technology in order to trick everyone into believing there'd been a second coming of sorts. But first, step one of Project Bluebeam would involve the manufacture of artificially created earthquakes in strategic locations around the world. So now, we just had an earthquake, so-called, they say, in Syria and in Syria and what's the other one? In Turkey, that's where it is. Syria and Turkey. So you're seeing this on the news and you're saying, okay, is this created? So let me go on. But I want you to pay attention because they said that these artificially created earthquakes that they're talking about in strategic locations around the world, these earthquakes would, according to the conspirators' hoaxes, unearth artifacts indicating that the religious doctrines of all nations have been misunderstood for centuries, thus discrediting all religions. Now, let me tell you right now, whether or not some of you know, the United States has an apparatus that's called HAARP. I think it's HAAPS, something like that, HAARP. Now, this apparatus, this machine, they said that this apparatus, what it can do is they could put it down on the ocean's floor, right? And it has high vibrational frequencies like lasers or whatever it is. Okay, and when they actually activate this apparatus can break up fault lines under the earth, creating tsunamis, creating earthquakes, creating all types of catastrophes. They said even when the soldiers were in Vietnam, they would go up, when they would fly up in the air with their planes, what they would release in the air, they would release these crystals in the air. And what these crystals would actually do, when they would release them, they would form these clouds, right? And these crystals would burst. And what it would do, it would create torrential rains. So I'm saying all of this because what I'm saying to you is they have the technology. We live in a high technical, logical society now that we have the technology to do a lot of things. So this is not far-fetched. Also, there's a machine that they call CERN. I don't know if you're familiar with that. CERN, you can look this up, CERN. Okay? And this is in, I think this CERN apparatus is in Switzerland, one of these places. It's a huge, I mean, it's so huge. And they can shoot beams up through in the atmosphere. Okay, so these people, they're demonic. They're playing God. They're demonic. They're doing all sorts of things. So let me read on. So I just wanted to give you that bit. So it talks about here. It says, these earthquakes would, according to the conspirators, hoaxes, unearthed artifacts, indicating that the religious doctrines of all nations have been misunderstood for centuries, thus discrediting all religions, as I just read. Manas claimed that movies like 2001, A Space Odyssey had already laid the psychological groundwork for this step by presenting stories in which mysterious unearthed objects upend everything humans know about themselves and their world. And I was looking at this thing, and some of you probably have already seen it, because what this apparatus does, you could use it, you could take your phone. You take your phone, and it's like this it's like this big projector. You put it on a tripod, and you take your phone, and you can create you could draw all types of images on it, right? And then what'll happen is this projector will shoot in the sky. So for instance, you could draw an angel on it, right? And then you could put your phone in front of this machine, this projector. And then this will create an illusion, or this will create what they call a hologram in the sky. And it'll make you think that you're seeing angels, or that you're seeing Jesus in the clouds. So I'm telling you, they got the technology. So they are creating, and they're planning to trick and fool the world and make you think that not that the creator's not coming, but they can create an illusionary hybrid hologram to make you think it's coming before its time, and to trick the world. And now they got you bowing down and believing, oh, Jesus is coming, and and all of this, and you fooled. Because the scriptures does say that if it were possible, he will fool the very elect. And a lot of people are going to be tricked, because guess what? They don't have their soul in check. They don't have their spirit right, because they're too preoccupied with the world stuff. That's where they're going to be tricked. If you are so occupied with the world stuff, and you don't have your spirit and your energy and your soul and your mind, and you're not aligned, and you're going to be fooled. Straight out, you're going to be fooled, because you're paying attention to the wrong things. Okay, here we go. The second step, Serge Manes claimed, would involve a gigantic space show. Now check this out, because they've already done it. I've seen some of the footage. During this stage of Project Bluebeam, three-dimensional optical holograms, as I just mentioned, listen, holograms, as well as laser projections of holographic images would beam across the sky. What would these images include? Check this out. Projections of Jesus, Mohammed, Buddha, Krishna, etc. will merge into one, Mana said. Okay? Manas explained the technology behind this display, saying that the conspirators would use space-based laser generating satellites to project simultaneous images to the four corners of the planet in every language and dialect according to the religion. Now, they even talked about, now check this out, they even talked about that if you own a laptop or computer, what they'll do, because they control everything. They control the media, they control all of these things, and I just found out that everything that a lot of us that are on TikTok and all that other stuff, you know what I'm saying? And you can be doing it innocently to just try to stay in touch with friends or what have you or whatever. They own all your data. They own all your information. Every time you click a button, they got you. So some of you may say, well, that ain't no information. That ain't nothing new. Well, they do. Every time you click, they own your files on your computer. They own the files. They own everything on your phone. So you have no privacy. None. So I'll move on. As the whole sky is transformed into one massive movie screen, this new God would speak to everyone in their own language. So they're attaching voice activation with this apparatus. Man, oh man, oh man. Listen, y'all. Next, the third step is where mind control would take center stage. Telephonic communication devices would send waves to reach each person within their own minds, convincing each of them that their own God is speaking to them from the very depths of their soul. Wow, 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 wow. You talking about manipulation and trickery of the devil. How would these rays be able to reach people's inner minds? Manas explained. Such rays from satellites are fed from the memories of computers that have stored massive data about every human on Earth and their languages. The rays would then interlace with their natural thinking to form what we call diffuse artificial thought. Wow, wow, wow. Listen, y'all. Finally, the fourth step of Project Bluebeam would make use of various technologies in order to convince people that alien invasions and the rapture itself were taking place, thus making it easier for the powers that be to take control of a fear-idled populace. Oh, my goodness. I hope you're hearing me. I hope you're hearing me. The NASA Blue Book Beam Project is the prime directive for the New World Order's absolute control over the populations of the entire Earth. Mana said, I would suggest you investigate this information carefully before dismissing it as fanatic lunacy. Okay. So good people, we're gonna stop right there for right now, and we're gonna come back in a few moments. So we're gonna pause for the cause, and we'll be back to give you some more information on this here on Anchor by Spotify, Seth Moore. And we will be back in a little bit. So stay with us. Okay. Okay, and we're back. Again, this is Seth Moore coming again to you on Anchor by Spotify. We are talking about Project Bluebeam, and we're going to continue with this information. This is dynamic, it's scary, it's just letting you know what is going on in our world. And it's up to you to accept or reject. There are many that are saying that this is conspiratorial, that it's not really true. And let me say this too. They've already tried to bring the world under control, but they failed one time. Because, trust me, this has already been tried. And with all this COVID stuff that has happened in the last few years, all of this stuff, that we are seeing around the globe, 9/11, all this stuff is planned. These people are wicked. They are wicked to the core. All of this stuff that we're seeing is not happening by happenstance. These are not just events that are just taking place randomly. These things are orchestrated, designed strategically, and they are planned by the powers of wickedness and high places. So I want to make that clear. So you can say, that ain't true, or this ain't true, or that, he don't know what he's talking about. Okay, you keep thinking that, and you're going to drink the Kool-Aid, So I want to go on with this information. Aside from this man's thrust of Project Bluebeam, other elements of the theory remain noteworthy, especially for the conspiracy theorists as well. Listen up. For instance, one component includes the phasing out of cash. And you've probably heard me give many podcasts on the de-dollarization of the U.S. and around the world. So if you're paying attention, you've seen that I've given many podcasts on BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They're creating an alliance where they're creating their own currency to de-dollarize the U.S.'s currency. Because the U.S. for so long, using the petrodollar, has controlled the monetary system for the last 100 years or so. And they've had control over the world markets to dictate to other countries what and when and how they should do what they do. And if they don't do it, you know how the U.S. is. They'll put sanctions on you. They'll create coups in your countries. They'll create wars, wickedness. That's what they do. So with all of this going on, it begs to differ that you pay attention and that you gird yourself up spiritually. Okay, I'm going to read on. So it says, not a complete crash, he said, but enough to allow them to introduce some kind of in-between currency before they introduce their electronic cash to replace all paper or plastic money, like cryptocurrencies. Anyone, you're familiar with the crypto. Everybody's like, invest in crypto. And people are thinking about all of these avenues to invest money purely on a profit mentality, not knowing what's happening. You understand what I'm saying? So you are so geared towards making money and making profit, you don't see what else is going on. You have no clue. You have no clue as to what's going on and how they setting you up, how they setting all of us up, trying to set us up for the new world order to come in. Because trust me, we are moving toward a paperless, cashless society. That's what we're moving towards. And if you drink the Kool-Aid and you don't know what's going on because your mind is so geared, they got your mind thinking. See, one thing you have to understand is these people, they're planning while you're asleep. And they're doing 50, 100 years in advance while you're sleeping, while they got you thinking like this. See, because as I said before, it is about perception. And whatever you perceive the world to be, that's how they're driving the market. That's how they're driving, all this technology. Because they want you to think a certain way. It's called mind manipulation. So if they have you thinking, go this way. Because they have a lot of agents out here telling you what to do. And you're following, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to go this way. But at the same time, you ain't guarding your soul. You ain't guarding your mind. You're not guarding your spirit. Because ultimately, you should be preparing your soul, your spirit, more than anything else. Hello, somebody. Hello, somebody. So that's what's going on. And so we are fastly moving toward a cashless society. And they already have some, like in China. In China, you ain't pulling out no money. In China, you pay everything on your phone. They have machines that every time you go in the store, you buy a drink, you put your phone on the scanner, beep. What is that? All of that is anti-preparedness for the Antichrist. This new world order. So let me go on. So it says, he said, but enough to allow them to introduce some kind of in-between currency before they introduce their electronic cash to replace all paper or plastic money, as I just read. Cryptocurrencies, anyone? Then there's the disputed story of Manos' death, because this guy's no longer living. Because you know what they do, right? Anytime you put out information on what they're doing, they're going to get rid of you. So there's the story of his death. Details about any facet of his life are both scarce and in dispute. It has been reported that he died of a heart attack without having any previous heart problems. And one of the methods of killing supposedly used by Project Bluebeam was artificially created heart attacks. Now, isn't that something? They can create artificially heart attacks to make you think you have one, and then to the point where you have one. There's also claim that the night before his death, Monas, excuse me, saying his name incorrect. His children, who were homeschooled, were abducted and placed in a state school before Monas was arrested. He spent the night in jail, and his children weren't heard from again, some claim. Ain't that something? Telling you how wicked these people are. If you believe that, and if you believe any of this entire theory at all, then the final line of Serge Monas' Project Bluebeam manifesto would certainly ring true. No one is safe in a totalitarian police state, as we already know, black folks. We already know. After this look at Serge Monas and Project Bluebeam, read about the various conspiracy theories surrounding Hitler's death, then delve into the Paul is dead conspiracy theory. Okay, so that's that for right now. I'm going to go back, and there's some more information here that I can give you. Let's see. I'm going to go Up here, let's see what this says. And okay. See, now we all of you, well, maybe not all of you, but I'm sure some of you, or me, or even maybe a lot of you, have seen when supposedly that China had this balloon flying through U.S. airspace and how it was shot down. Let me say this so that you could really pay attention, so that you'll know what's going on. And I do this, guys, because I love you. I want you to have this information. I want you to be aware of what's happening so that we won't get caught, like we used to say back in the day, with our pants down. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of this stuff that's actually going on, like with this air balloon flying through U.S. airspace, and, a lot of these apparatuses that people are seeing in the sky. And I'm not saying that some of them are not real, because I do believe that our ancestors are preparing to come back. I do believe that, and ships, and they coming back strong. Trust me. But then, aside from that, I also believe a lot of this stuff is staged. You have to pay attention. You have to pay attention. You have to really pay attention, because I want to give you something to think about. Okay, right? Think about this. Why is it when black people are killed in the street by police officers, right? They'll leave their bodies there for the whole world to see. Like we're some dogs. They don't value our life at all. The whole world sees us lying in the street dead, right? Right? When they do us like, treat us like animals, which they have been for the last 400 years. They'll let our bodies lie in the street like stray dogs. They'll let the whole world see it. But listen to this. When white people are killed, a lot of it they don't even report, number one. But they don't treat them like that. They don't treat them like that at all. They don't treat them like that at all. But listen to this. When we hear about a lot of these school shootings, and I'm not saying that some of them are not for real or true, but have you ever wondered why when they say 20 people or 30 people or 15 or whatever the number may be, they never show the footage? They just tell you. You just see a whole lot of police at a school or SWAT or whoever. You see a whole lot of people, but you never see them bringing body bags out. You never see that, right? They never take you inside of the school and show you the carnage. They never show you the blood. They never show you where all the killings took place, So if you think about that, you say, okay, all of these people got killed. So where is the cleanup crew? Where is the body? Why don't the media take you inside of the school with the cameras and show you the blood all over the floor, or show you the bodies? Why they never do this? Is it because they're only protecting the how can I put it? The respect of the families? Is that what it is? They're protecting the respect of the families, or they value the lives of white people more than they do other people, black and brown people. But why do they never show you the carnage that's taking place? They just said this many people have died, and you see people outside crying, and a lot of police and ambulance show up, but they never show you body bags coming out. You never see none of that. That's a thought. Think about that. Think about it. You never see that. But when black folks are dying in the street and shot up by police, they show you all the footage. They show you people lying in cars dead, bullets all riddled through their body. You know, like Michael Brown in Missouri. He laying in the street for 3 hours. They showing you all of that, right? But why they never show white folks? Think about that. So is it for real or is it staged? Is this a part of the powers that be plot? Or is it about, we don't value y'all, so that's the way we treat y'all. But we value ours, so we won't show it because their lives are more sacred than yours are. Is that really what it is? I beg to differ. So anyways, we're going to move on. How conspiracy theorists on Reddit are reacting to these UFO sightings, so forth. So you have to question when all these things are taking place and they're happening. Are they staged or are they for real? After the New York Times published a piece on Sunday revealing the existence of a $22 million program in the Pentagon that investigates UFOs, conspiracy spinners were active in the bizarro corners of Reddit, Twitter, and 4chan. Yet users seem to be consumed less by the possibility of a forthcoming alien invasion and more by the theory that the government is scheming to use fake extraterrestrials to manipulate the population. So this goes back to, as well, what we're talking about, Project Bluebeam, because NASA has a pivotal role in playing in this whole thing. It's tough to comprehensively explain the false flags myth without tumbling, let me enlarge this a little bit, without tumbling down rabbit holes. But most of them seem to stem from the writing of a prolific conspiracy theorist named, what we just talking about, Serge Maness, the guy from Quebec. According to Wikipedia, the most reputable source I managed to find on the subject. Maness was a self-styled journalist from Quebec who wrote an influential paper in 1994. Now, this thing came out in 1994, and just like I think I mentioned in the last podcast, maybe another podcast, they talked about in this movie in the 90s, they talked about this earthquake right now that just took place. And they said that Netflix had this movie on TV about the earthquake in Syria and Turkey. Think about that. Now, they had a previous movie years ago on the... So what's that say? What's that say to you? If they did a movie on this earthquake in Turkey and Syria years ago, what's that telling you? Is that planned or staged or by design strategically? Come on, y'all. Okay. So now he was a self-styled, as I just read, journalist from Quebec who wrote an influential paper in 1994 called the Project Bluebeam, which alleged that NASA and the United Nations are working together to simulate an invasion from space using holograms, as I just mentioned. Now, if you guys, it may have been, I don't know what, it's been maybe 10 years now when they had the award show on. I don't know if you remember this, but during the award show, I think it was Wycliffe John. He wasn't there, but they hologrammed him right in the space where he was being interviewed. And I looked at that and I was like, oh my goodness. So they had that technology. This technology has been here from 30 years or more ago. So they hologrammed him right in the room, standing right before the people. Wow. The world's populace. So it talks about the United Nations is working, together to simulate an invasion from space using hologram. The world's populace apparently will then abandon all religions and take this hologram to be a messiah, establishing a new world religion that will serve as a steering for nefarious puppet masters in the government to set up a global dictatorship called the New World Order, as I just read to you a little while ago. Now this is powerful, y'all. So I'm giving you this because I want you to pay attention and I want you to know exactly what is transpiring and what is going on. Project Bluebeam was a popular buzzword in the forums discussing the times piece. As an anonymous user posted in 4chan, read the New York Times, hell yes, Bears trying to pull Project Bluebeam, but it's not going to work. The forum proceeded to get remarkably into the weeds on specific mechanics of the holograms, with some asking how anyone is going to believe that they're real if bullets are going to pass right through them, and others responding that the holograms will be touchable, or that the military will fake the combat. And so they're going to use this to make you believe that the end time is here, and as you know, as I just read, the military be shooting bullets through holograms, and they won't affect them, and it'll make you think, oh my God, Jesus is coming, or Jesus is here, or and then you'll be pulled into that deception, and then they got you. But they say it ain't gonna work because you got too many woke people, huh? And this is why I'm so grateful that the Creator gives me these things. I could be doing something, and He'll drop some information on me, or He'll allow me to see some information that someone else's has, and I'll be privy to it, which I'm very grateful, and He'll have me share it with you. Okay? So a lot of times that's how it works. Iron sharpen iron. That's what it is. So I'm very grateful for that, because we need to know what's going on. Okay, so anyways, it talks about, it says here, but all based on real tech. He said, I think, let me read this. Let me see. Similar threads of conversation flowed on Reddit's conspiracy, where commenters swapping step-by-step outlines of how the scheme will play out. A user with the handle, the high Blackman, seemed to indicate that the theory was well known on the subreddit. I think the thought is just it's scary because the people here that have studied Bluebeam know it sounds ridiculous, but it's all based on real tech. Another wrote, secret space program, false invasions, and Project Bluebeam are up-to-date, dated versions of the apocalypse. And a skeptic attempting to push back at the claims posted, why would you assume that Project Bluebeam is real before it even happens? What if the aliens are real? So you have to basically figure it out for yourself. I wouldn't say, I'm not going to dismiss it, because we are living in that time. And believe me, we're in the year where we're going to see a lot happening. Believe me, we're in that time. The enemy knows he has a short time. Okay? So that's where we are. So you have to put on your thinking caps and be very discerning as to what's happening in the world and not be so brain dead that you don't know what's happening because, again, you are paying attention to the wrong things. You're consuming your mental and energy focus on all this stuff that is going to pass away that don't mean nothing, and you're not paying attention to your spiritual ascension, which is most important, okay? Because if you are unprepared and you're snatched out of here unaware, you're going to have to do a redo. You're going to have to do a redo because you're not spiritually prepared, as I said. Who wants to be in that position? Another false flag theory that seemed to attract a bit of buzz on social media came from Stephen Greer, a retired physician and outspoken figure in the ufology scene, whose most recent documentary, Unacknowledged, was released on Netflix. Listen to this, as I just mentioned, this year. He's long been warning that the government will manipulate facts when it discloses information on UFOs in order to consolidate power. In a blog post, he wrote, strictly speaking, the militarists and warmongers itching to kick some alien butt, as it was said in the movie Independence Day, may actually only want a pretext to justify their existence and get the world to eventually spend huge sums of money on a perceived, if contrived, threat from space. The theory also involves religious fanatics attempting to initiate an Armageddon. So you got to watch out for your preachers too. You got to watch out for these people that are agents. A lot of people who are standing before you, every Sunday, Wednesday Bible study, or whoever you are going to hear so-called preach the word to you, could be agents of the Antichrist, agents of the government who are standing before you, because guess what? They are only exempt because they have that 501c3 where they don't pay taxes to the government, and the government may be giving them their marching orders to lead you straight to hell. Because the scripture, it says that many shall be deceived. There are those who are wolves in sheep clothing, standing before you every Sunday. Because they're only concerned with money. And if you're going to a place where you have a pastor who's supposedly trying to lead you, and he is preaching to you about God, but his God is money. His God is living high. And your scripture's telling you to be in the world and not to be of the world, but to let this mind be in you, which was also in the higher power, which is in the higher celestial spheres of existing, because he knows that you're no longer going to be here, and his wealth is predicated on being here and having the world's wealth. You need to get away from him. You need to, because you're setting yourself up. You need to get away from that. You need to get away from that. And it says the theory also involves religious fanatics attempting to initiate an Armageddon. Greer offered his take on the Times piece in the series. And notice it says that the New York Times story is couched from a threat office of the Pentagon. Excuse me. This is a clear ramp up for the false flag fake disclosure designed to prepare people for a threat from outer space, as I read. And so for the warmongers and war profiteers have a new, bigger enemy. Beware. Meanwhile, unacknowledged is being blocked by media, See, the media ain't putting this out. No coverage, even though it is the 2017 first documentary on iTunes and widely popular on Netflix, etc. So you can go to iTunes and look up this Project Bluebeam, and the secret government is manipulating a false disclosure and threat via their leakies and cutouts. Stay tuned. So pay attention, y'all, because this is very, very serious, and you don't want to be walking around unaware and not having a clue. So I just wanted to give you that today. And I hope that you'll continue to visit us and like and share and give us your thoughts. And of course, we're going to always be bringing you world news, current events, things that matter, to keep your heightened awareness of what is going on. Keep your vibrations high. Stay vibrationally solvent. And remember to support us just by giving us a like. And we appreciate it so much. Remember, keep your vibrations high. And until next time, we'll see you. This is Seth coming to you again on Anchor by Spotify. Until next time, have a great afternoon. Okay, bye-bye.